Hello, everybody. I am going to do some chart interpretations with charts that have the 36 in the activation sequence. And this is the second week or the second transit that I'm doing that. I will keep posting in the deep dive and on my wall every transit so that you can post your charts, and I will go over many different charts and actually tell you, the differences and the similarities and what does it mean to have a specific archetype in your chart. And in the 64 doors, this transit, we're calling the 36 the storm. And the storm is really embracing any kind of weather, even the uncomfortable weather, we could say. So what does it mean to have this archetype, the archetype of the storm, in a prominent position in your chart, in your activation sequence, for example? So I'm eager to go into the groups and see who has posted and how we can interpret that. Also, what does it mean to have the same activation sequence, but maybe in different lines? That's something I also find very interesting to look at. So let us dive in together and see what we have. So here we have gene key 38, 36. Oops, no, that's not where I wanted to go. So here we have a 2-4, and this is the cross of Eden. So like I said in the 64 doors this week, the cross of Eden can feel like being thrown out of paradise, and then your whole life is basically finding your way back to your little slice of paradise. And when you're a 2-4, it's a lot about finding the right people to create this with. And many times it's about fulfilling yourself first, because if you rely on others to create this for you, you're often going to fall into disappointment. And that is the main theme for second line life's work and evolution. It's really to fall into disappointment with others and to feel like you are giving more, maybe you're giving everything but you're not getting back. So for the second line, it's so important for you to find your own fulfillment, and for you with the 11 and the 12, it's to really live with from your own ideas, from your own pure heart, discriminate what works for you and what doesn't work. You are the dancer, but you're not necessarily going to want to dance with everything and everybody. So you can be selective. You can have that discrimination on what feels right and pure for you and what doesn't. And there can be a lot of darkness and crisis in the cross of Eden, and it's really a refinement of finding out what works and what it is that you want to dance with, I feel. And when I look into your chart, you have the 58 twice in your pearl sequence. So I feel like it has to do with vitality. What is it that creates more vitality for you? You have that possibility to fall down into disappointment and dissatisfaction. So you really want to discern and discriminate. What is it that gives you light? What is it that makes you feel alive? And when you do that, you're going to break through into being, I would say, being an alchemist, actually, for creating peace. That's your grounding. Like, you can create peace just with your aura, because you have lived the states of dissatisfaction, of disappointment. But when you're fulfilling yourself first, when you're creating aliveness and vitality in your own life, then you can see the turbulence in the world and you can be in it, but you don't necessarily need to be touched by it. You could say you don't need to fall into letting the storm swaying you in all directions. You can stay in your core and be compassionate from there and be stable there. And then your diplomacy and your aura can be shared with other people. And you're going to be able to see things from a completely new perspective that you weren't able to when you were in dissatisfaction. But when you are opening up to actually becoming stable in yourself, the right people are going to come into your life, and you can see things in a new way. There's going to be much more of a fertile ground. We have the attraction. The lower frequency for you can be quite sterile. It feels like if you don't have the right people around you, you're not going to be able to plant. And in the low frequency, there could be quite a lot of complexity, quite a lot of blame and guilt with other people in the vocation. But when you're able to fulfill yourself first, to come into your own core stability, And to have this fertile soil to plant in, you are going to be a voice, a spontaneous voice that comes with solution, a spontaneous voice that know how to simplify what other people feel is complicated. And even you can be a role model in that, in showing how to organize things, and how to creating powerful solutions. And that's part of how you would serve the world. And it's through that discernment too of, how can we simplify it, what works, what doesn't work. And I would love to hear what you're doing, Marit, in your life. And there's also, you're good with team dynamics, and probably with that third line culture, you work really well in a small team from 3 to 15 people, because you can put the right people together in smaller teams, and you can see the dynamics of things. And I would say it's always important for you on an emotional plane in relationship and on an emotional plane, to not repress, but to be able to express yourself, to not feel like, oh, they're not going to understand me anyway, or it's too complex, I don't even know where to start. No, really, for you, when it comes to reclaiming all parts of you, the emotional, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, it's so much about being able to express. All these first lines could tend to repress and to self-sabotage a little bit, and to be more contemplative than expressing. So we really want you to be able to start expressing even the deeper parts of how you feel, because that's how everything becomes more fertile for you in your life. And you are an adventurous being. So with this cross, you're here to live also that adventure. It's here to be part of your life, and you are here to find the partners in crime as well for that. So I hope that was helpful. And I just want to say that anybody who has this cross are going to, recognize parts of what I was saying. It's going to be a little bit different depending on where you have it. So here we have a 4-6 with the same. So here it's about doing what you love. It's not so much in the sense about, becoming disappointed or not with the other. You want a trust in all the relationships you have, and that is very important. It's about doing what you love, and when you do what you love, you are going to serve the world with that. And then it's not going to be so much this duality. How do I serve myself? How do I serve others? No, you do what you love, and through that, you're going to serve others. It's important for you to have that discernment also, exactly as we were saying. Here you have this 11th, the ideals are on the top of the chart. So I would say it's important for you to feel into that. What is light for you? What are your ideals? How can your ideas nurture you? And how can you discern with all these ideas which are the one that you want to give energy to? And then knowing that as a 6th line, radiance and purpose, it is so important to have people that can nurture the vision. And once you have discerned with all the ideas that you have, which one you want to put energy in, it's about finding the right people on your fractal. This is a magical number. 444 is about soul fractals. So it's really about finding the right people, the people you can smell are part of your world, of your genius. And then once you find them, together they're going to nurture your vision. They're going to nurture that it's possible, those ideas that look very visionary for you probably. That with the right people, these are going to be part of a new world. And for you, that is part of your core stability, comes from having people that see in the same direction. So it's not only for the 2-4 that we were just looking at, it's a lot about friendship and close relationships where you can find partners in crime. Here it's partners that you can see the future, that you can see the vision with, where you can be grounded together in a compassion, in a humanity, in an intent for what we're doing together. And for you, it's really this shift from, in the lower frequency, there can be promiscuity, there can be betrayal, there can be, cutting off things and wanting to start on a new sheet, failure in relationship, and feeling like relationships are really complex. And actually, once you're doing what you love, once you have these people that are nurturing your vision, suddenly there's so much playfulness, and relationships are going to feel much more simple. And you have the same activation with a 5th line in your core. So even you can feel in the beginning of your life, especially after 30, there is a lot of trial and error, and there is a lot of things that go wrong, a lot of things to blame. You can feel guilt yourself. And you can feel like the world is corrupt and that you don't see the vision and that people are corrupt and that there is no balance. There's so many things that you can see. It's like a big thing of spaghetti and you can't start from anywhere. It's like, it looks just really kind of corrupt at some point. But you're really here to, you're part of your journey is forgiveness. So I don't know what it is, but of course with the cross of Eden, when you're thrown out of paradise, there can be a lot of things to forgive. So part of your path is really that forgiveness, because through that forgiveness for you comes balance, equilibrium in your life, and that is how you become a storyteller. And again, it's about simplification for you. When you can focus on what you love, on what really matters, then you become a powerful storyteller, and also your leadership skills, your creative leadership skills are going to come out. And there is a lot of creativity in your chart. And a similar theme here, to be able to really express what you're feeling, your emotions, not go in and repressing it so that it becomes self-sabotage in some way, so that your vitality is being taken down, or so you even in here it would be to not being able to really be more inwards, so that somehow you're not sharing your sparks with the world. I hope that was fun. That was interesting to see the difference between the 2-4 and the 4-6. Is this, that's right? More. Is this anything? Yeah, maybe there's something in the comments that I missed. Virginia. Oh, this is so great. So here we have a 5-1. That's perfect to have so many different profiles. So here we have the challenge of misunderstandings and conflicts, and it's accentuated. We have a third time now with the core wound, line 5, blame and guilt, and the unlocking through forgiveness. But here it can be accentuated because we have that 5th line that we have in the life's work and the evolution. So that has to do with projection, with misunderstandings and conflicts. So here it's so important that there is a lot of tribal circuitry in what people see of you. So I can see how people would actually project on you that you try to decide, or that you're, that you are powerful. People are going to see that you're powerful, and you have the magnetism. The 15th is the most magnetic. It's even the keyword gate. So people are you're going to go into a room and people are going to feel your aura. And this can be, and it's also your EQ. So this is a very powerful profile. We want you to be able to actually use your vulnerability in those moments where people, not even in those moments, before those moments arrives where people could project on you that you're trying to lead, or you're trying to, then if you use your vulnerability from the beginning, your humanness with people, that is your life's work. When you can use your humanness with people, they aren't going to misunderstand you. They are going to be able to tune in with you with this aura of diplomacy and peace. It requires from you that you are not trying to show that you're so strong. And I know how difficult it can be for 5-1, because you want to be understood, and sometimes you try too much to be understood or too much to explain, and that makes it worse. Instead, if you can just step into your vulnerability and even say, like, my worst fear is that we're not going to understand each other, that we're going to create problems, or that this is going to fall apart. Whatever it is, to show that humanness, that is so critical for you and so beautiful when you can start doing that. And then there is this 10 that is a little bit tricky, that could lead into you being focused on yourself, kind of have that self-centeredness, to be like, the world is too messed up, so I'm just going to focus on myself. And that, you see, self-obsession. So your naturalness of being a leader in the world would be collapsed, basically, and it would become a self-centeredness, where you could fall in then to some extremes, because your life would be boring, because you're not stepping into the true leadership that comes from you sharing really openly and vulnerably. So then you would somehow maybe have to create extremes in your relationships or conflicts or something that will make you feel alive, because you're not truly being you. So it's a powerful cross. It can be a little bit complex when it's a 5-1, when you have those powerful tribal what is it called, activations. This is the money line in human design, and you can see just money is such a such a tense subject, right? So when you have that in in your pearl sequence, that is the outer, where people see of you. You have the money line that goes from the ego to the throat in human design. That is something that can create tension and projections on the outside. And you're here to be recognized. So that's why it's important for you to be able to show your leadership in the world. And you need time alone. So I think that's part of it too. That you need time alone where you're just you, where you don't have to think about that projection field, where you can just be with nature. For me, with a 15 in 2 places, the nature is so important. Enriching, when you can have relationships that are enriching, where you can let the guard down, when people can see you, for who you are, maybe with other 5-1s, where you can be in that flow with another person, is super important. And like we say here, the core wound is the core wound of guilt. So to forgive every time that there might have been projections or misunderstandings, and to really start finding the synergy with other people. See that there are other leaders that want to co-create with you. See that there is a synergy, that even if somebody is very different from you, there can be a synergy in how you can function together. And you're probably not somebody who wants to have a boss, because you're a 6th line. You want to see the whole thing. You want to see the system. You want to have your authority. So don't put yourself in situations where you have to take somebody else's orders. So I would love to know, Virginia, what you're doing as professional in your life, because you're here to be recognized, but you're also here. There is a playfulness to that. There's a playfulness to this 3rd gene key that is always going to be childlike somehow. And there's a lot of creativity in your SQ. There's a lot of heart there too. So in the middle of your chart, you have a lot of love, a lot of heart, and we want to make sure that you can live that out by making these other spheres be in the higher frequencies. And then the enrichment. So in the middle pillar, you have a lot of heart, you have a lot of play, you have a lot of enrichment, and you just want to make sure that you're not kind of falling in the challenge of misunderstandings. So what's next? Do we have anything else? Here we have one more, Natasha. And here we have 3-5. This is amazing. We only have different kinds of profiles. So here we have, again, the Cross of Eden. We have the 22 that we're just in here. And a 3-5. So here you are a dynamic being. You can throw consistency out of the window. You are here to be dynamic. You're here to live without an agenda. You're here to actually not really have to have a structure that is too rigid, and to be able to tell people that, so that people don't have all this expectation from you, and then there is this disappointment that they will have with you, or they will shame you, or they will say that you fail, or they will feel like you're not doing what you're promising. So that you take that off and you're explaining how you work, I would say. And let's see. Okay, so health and vitality. So that's part of what can drain you, when you are not saying, this is the way, I'm this kind of animal. That's what the 3-5 wants to do. And then what I would say that health and vitality is so important. The radiance have to do with our health, and a lot with our physical health. That's where it starts. So when you're stuck in this, having expectations, trying to meet them, it doesn't work out. When you're stuck in the everyday chaotic life, it's very hard for a 3-5 to step into the true voice of who you are. And when you don't step in, when you don't make the breakthrough and step into the radiance and the purpose, that's when your aura is going to collapse. You are not going to have that radiance, that aura that is big. And that's when your physical body is basically protected, because you're walking in the world without living in the full potential of your aura. So we really want you to break out of the need for attention or approval. And we want you to live life without an agenda, so that you can start to be who you truly are and come into that voice. And many times it is the key. You have the keys. You have so many ideas, and you have discernment. There's often things that happen in the experiences of your life that are going to be what your voice wants to speak about. And the way that you speak about, for me, there is a lot of care in this. You have this 19 that is very sensitive. For me, you have a lot of care in the way that you would speak, and it's probably going to be something that is kind of a solutions for people, I would say. And the same thing for you, having the 6 and the 36 and the radiance and the purpose. You're grounded in compassion. You're grounded in an aura that is going into a room and helping people to feel much more at peace. And you probably have, when you're a 6-line vocation, you have the core wound of separation. So you might even feel like this planet's the wrong place for you, or have felt that. So and that this world is a kind of indifferent place, and it doesn't have humanity, it doesn't have compassion. There is so much turbulence, and there is not the paradise that we could create on Earth. So that's part of your life, and that's part of what can drain your health as well. So you want to come back to knowing that we are all doing it. It takes time, and we need patience, and the world is changing, and using your enthusiasm. Like for you as well, I feel like the 3 is a lot of fire. So whatever you feel fired up about, these are good things. Whatever you feel inspired about, whatever you feel like you have a voice of leadership in, those are the things that you want to concentrate on, because that is going to lead to enthusiasm. And you also have a lot of playfulness. There is another, have the 3rd line here that we saw before. In the low frequency, you aren't going to tap into your voice, and then your aura is going to collapse. Your physical body and your emotional body are not going to be happy. In your relationship, there is going to be a lot of turbulence, and there can be even indifference and people not caring about each other, and that's going to fuel, really feeling like this world, we're not caring for each other. And you could easily become a victim. The 22 and the 55 are really strong in the Pearl sequence. You could feel like a victim, but that's not what you are here to do. You're here to use your sensitivity to come into your leadership, to simplify things, to be a leader for whatever that 3rd line has lived, and basically see this doesn't work or this works. And that is part of what I see, your voices. So, and how can you start sharing your voice? It doesn't have to be much in the beginning. It's just to see, where do I go from the evolution to the radiance? Where do I tap into the soul side of my chart? And there are some more here. Okay, this, I think, is this in the activation sequence? Yeah, so here we have a new cross. This is cool. So this is 26 and 46, and it's a 6-2. So another, or even a new profile. Here we also have the grounding. Here that humanity comes with flow. We can say it's the archetype of the storm, right? And it's a storm, it's a movement. It's always going to be a movement in your life. It's always going to be things that come into your life. And you are a trickster. You're here to be artful. You're here to be, again, this tribal leadership. You're here to be a leader. And it's going to take you at least 30 years, or if not 50 years, to come into that leadership, to find your artfulness, to be able to step in. Maybe it's in your community that you're a leader. It is this tribal human leadership that has both the 36 and the 45. And it is to be surrounded by people, by in an environment, in situations where you can nurture your vision, where you know that you don't have to compromise, where you know that that you're building what you believe in as this 45, the canvassing. This is the canvassing. This is a Gemini gate. It's powerful, and it is about synergy. And in the low frequency, this can be a trickster that kind of tries to find his way through life in ways that are not completely pure and correct. That is trying to sell things for more expensive than the value, and that can try to use dominance to get the things that you want. And then that on the unconscious side is going to create turbulence and conflict in relationships. But that is something that sometimes even the 2nd line in the radiance and the purpose, I feel like, doesn't really even understand where it comes from. So to really go into, even look at the core wound, there is this discord and there is this denial. There is something maybe that you're doing. There's some pattern that you don't really want to look at in the beginning, especially of your life, where you think that what you're doing is okay, that the dominance that might be there because of, I don't even know what it comes from, but that you're okaying things that somehow are not okay. They are not leading you to true guidance. They are not leading you to living in totality. They are not showing that you are trusting in divine will. They are not making you step into the true leadership that you're here to be recognized for. So in the evolution with the 45-6, it's almost like you would be forcing a resolution. You will be forcing leadership a little bit. But the true leadership of your essence is the reluctant leader that is going to be chosen by the people and recognized by the people. So that's an interesting combination of keys from the pearl to the evolution with those two leadership gates. And the 7 also have a leadership quality to it. So we want you to step into where is the true synergy, where we don't have this tribal kind of tension, and where can you come into your fluidity, where can you find other people that you can find true marriage with, true merging with, true flow with. And from that, then it's when you can start to open up and be warm instead of being dominant, maybe, or instead of tricking your way through. And this might sound like negative, but there is something innocent too with those gates and with the 26. It's like there's an innocence to it. This is where people have survived, because you have this trickster in you. But anyway, when you break through, you have the possibility to open your heart much more, to live much more, in totality, to feel your inner guidance, to start to mirror yourself in the other, not trying to dominate, not trying to trick, not creating conflict unconsciously, but really finding that guidance that in the higher frequencies virtue, and seeing that there is a divine will. We don't need to do so much. Even our leadership is built on a divine will that is there, and it's a 6 line again. So it comes through patience, the space to allowing it. And then you're also here to create enrichment. So your leadership is going to create enrichment for people and playfulness. And you are also really good at working with a small team. So a lot of richness in this chart, and a very interesting profile. So, and here I think it was not the hologenetic profile, so or the activation sequence. Yeah, and this is my own activation sequence, but I'm a 4-6. It's very similar, and I also have the 31. Well, we could just say that in the pearl, life is going to be a storm, but it's a storm of celebration. I have a 3rd line here too, and I have the 28 totality. So I have basically the swapped. So I have the 28 up there and the 31 down here. So yeah, it's a life that is a storm, and that's the beauty of it. And it's totality in every moment. Here we have a lot of leadership themes too. The 38-7, it's a channel. A lot of leadership, risk-taking, really grounded in your own guidance, and that seeing the world through new eyes, the leader of the future. And then it's about freedom. It's about freedom. That's what you're going to do with all these activations. You are going to guide people into freedom, and you're doing it through risk taking, and you're doing it through your inner guidance, because that's how you can feel true virtue. And there are going to be some emotional bumps on the way, but they are part of the storm of the humanness, and that's part of celebrating the fact that we are here in physical form. That's how I would see this, Christina. That was a fast one, but it's a beautiful profile, and I do feel deeply with it because I have similar activations. So let's see. Okay, well, this was so perfect because we had all kinds of profiles, in the sense that, like, all kinds of lines. So 2-4 and 5-1 and 3-5 and 6-2. And it's just beautiful to see how that 36 in the activation sequence can really express itself in such a different way depending on the lines. So this is an invitation to everybody to do the golden path, to really dive into those lines that you can do. And of course you can do it with the Gene Key Ambassador as well, to go deep, to have a sounding board, but to get the golden path courses. And I guess that everybody in the deep dive has done the first, that comes the first sequence of the golden path comes with the deep dive, but now it's the Venus, and you see I'm going into the Venus, I'm going into the pearl, and you have similar ways of understanding the lines, which is all basically that I'm using when I'm weaving. So thank you.